Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another episode of Trudge Report. This is a recovery-based podcast, but don't worry, if you're not sober or not ready to be sober, we talk about plenty of other things, including sports, trending topics, and a good bit of nonsense. My name is Shawn and I am your host. I am joined by my good friends and fellow trudgers. Please remember to listen on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Videos will be posted each week so you can watch episodes on YouTube and Facebook. But as always, please be sure to download on your listening platforms. What do we do to that like button, Corey? We smash it. Dude. We smash the like button, Corey. Remember to like and subscribe on all social media outlets with the handle @Trudge Report Pod. We are brought to you by Stella Mix Podcast Management and our wonderful producer and editor, Miss Janine Stella. Gentlemen, good evening. Happy recording day. How's everybody doing? Good to see you. G.A. Phillips, we start with you as always. What's up,
gentlemen?
Buddy?
Not a whole lot, man. I'm through another successful weekend. Spent a lot of time with the family. Good stuff. Nothing new to report. I am pumped to get through the next week of work because I am off the week of Thanksgiving, and I haven't really taken like a full vacation this year, so a week off sounds pretty good to me. So
nice.
Yeah, other than that, man, just excited to be alive. Excited to be here with you guys tonight.
Hell yeah. The other Midwesterner, Danny P.
Hey, we got, UConn Huskies, baby. College basketball, full throttle. We got Mr. Ray sitting behind me right here, looking upon us. Super pumped. Yep, Mr. Shuttlesworth. Super pumped watching college basketball. But we had a good week of returning to normalcy, and we found out that Danny is not allergic to red meat. So we were back to normal dietary stuff. So apparently I really actually did get Mom Donnied. I mean, I got some virus that my body immune reacted to. So, flying spirit and coming through New York. I mean, guess that's what happens.
So was it a tick bite or no tick bite?
Nope. He said because I have no allergies at all, that it was probably just some immune response to some virus or something that I got traveling. So I got communism.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was a new type of tick called socialism.
Yeah, exactly. I'm patient zero, so it feels good to be patient zero.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
But we had a good week. Nothing crazy. We did a little skating. Me and Maya did some skating on some roller skates. That was fun. We're bringing it back old school. Didn't get injured, and it was a good week. And happy to be on here with you fellas again.
Was the skating? Was it a little more trickier than you remember?
Oh, no, man. So we did it last year, too. So Alyssa always laughs because I'm a big kid, and I was out there like pumping it. You know what I mean? I said, let me get the rollerblades, and I was pumping it around, going around all the kids and all that stuff. And Maya just went off and did her own thing.
We went to a birthday party a few weeks ago at the skating rink up here in Vero, and same thing, dude. Back to my skating rink days, bro. It came right out, bro. I was cruising around that thing.
It's so fun, right? You just feel
so much fun.
The music's pumping, the lights, fun. Disco ball,
electric slide, just
cruising, dude. Just got the moves.
Yeah, let's go. I see all the parents watching. I was like, you guys need to have some fun here, man.
Yeah. Good stuff, Danny. Glad you're feeling better. Glad everything's good. Hi, Corey.
How
are you?
I'm good, Shawn.
Good to see you.
Great. The Eagles are going to give me a heart attack. Something is. The cholesterol, the Eagles. I don't know.
Pop a couple Blue Chew, brother. You'll be fine.
Oh, there you go.
A little bit of Canadian Cialis. I can get you a line on that, bud.
Like literally like a line, like crush it up, snort it.
Well, you could do that too, but I just meant like to get some. But yeah, you could do that.
I wonder if it works faster that way.
Probably got to rub the coating off though. There's probably a coating on it.
Here's the deal though.
That's the worst part.
That's how we know we're drug addicts, because Dan just said it. I wonder if it works faster. Blue Chew, I'm trying to snort it.
I want that instant.
Mm-hmm.
Dan snorts his freaking Tylenol.
Yes.
There's always another way you could do it too, Corey. Do you know what that is?
Oh, the boofer?
The old boofer, dude.
You could boof it.
Boof it. Anybody,
how are you doing?
Mind. I'm fine. I was going to ask if you guys ever boofed anything, but let's not even go down that road.
I have not.
I haven't.
No, I have not.
I could tell you all about it.
I'll tell you this. I haven't,
Ninja.
I haven't, and Dan hasn't. But then there's one person that just raised their hand on this podcast. For those who are listening,
Yeah.
Listen.
I'll let you guess. The listener can guess who that was.
In late high school and afterwards, 2001, 2002, real deal ecstasy was a good time. So
See,
I'll just leave it at that.
Greg's like, yeah, Lauren made me do it last week. It's marriage counseling. Sorry, Lauren. Just kidding.
I never got ecstasy either.
Oh, I
missed
did.
out on the ecstasy.
Yeah.
That was the only drug, legitimately the only drug that I just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I had taken a few X pills one night and I was just like talked myself out of rolling and I was like, I don't want to do this ever again. And I never did. It was the only drug I could literally put down and never come back to. Never worked with anything else.
Dude,
so maybe I'm not an addict.
I had one. Yeah, I had one and dones too. Mushrooms and ecstasy. Those were one and dones, man. I did it and I was like, I'm good.
Mushrooms.
I spent years on the Bonnaroo and traveling music festival circuit. So it was not the case for me.
If I could have done mushrooms like smoke weed, I would have done them almost every day, probably for a good portion of my life.
They're so gross.
I got some wild stories about that. Maybe I'll save that for another time. I don't have to get into that, but
we should do a whole episode on Shawn's stories because I realize he's much cooler than I thought he was.
I was a wild child.
It's wild.
I was a wild child, but what else? Anything else, Corey? You good over there? Everybody all right in your household? You doing okay?
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Every week we do this, and I realize how fucking boring I am. That's
okay. That's called peace.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't feel peaceful. I feel chaotic constantly.
Well, that's a different conversation.
Welcome to the death of your 20s.
Oh my God, guys! R.I.P. my 20s because it's coming real soon.
Yeah. When's your birthday again?
December 5th.
Yep. These last waning moments of sunset.
Listen, can I just ask you guys real quick? I don't even know if this is pod worthy, but Shawn, I already know your answer. But did anybody else have any type of I don't want to call it extreme, but anxiety, in their last couple years of their 20s, turning 30, around their 30.
Corey, I was
really high.
I was so high.
Oh yeah, never really high. I forgot.
I did not
all of the time.
I wasn't high.
Yeah, all the time.
I've heard that before. I forgot you guys were just getting loaded.
Those are called the blend years.
No, I'll tell you what though. At 33 though, when my wife said to me, "Hey, you're 1/3 of a century old," that was like, whoa, that's wild to think about it like that. But
I'm not looking forward to the day that I realize that it is a sure thing that I have more days behind me than I do ahead of me. You know what I mean? That day will come.
We still got a lot more of those years, buddy. Don't worry.
Well, we do right now, but I don't know. At 50, it gets a little iffy. I mean, my grandmother's pushing 100, but you know, I don't know.
Shout out to Catherine's grandpa on the mom side. He's not doing too well. He's in his 90s plus, but he's not doing too well. So shout out to Pop. But all right, boys, you want to get anything else? Anything around the horn? Anybody want to get anything off their chest? Any concerns, comments, complaints? You want to bitch at Corey for anything in particular real quick? That's fine. We'll allow it.
The shirt choice is unacceptable tonight.
I can't say it out loud, but everybody should take a look at the last question on the Google Doc that Corey just put on there. It's really funny.
Oh, I can say it out loud because I'm the one that wanted.
Oh, you did that. Okay. I thought it was Corey.
I'd like to know if Corey, when you're holding it, because of, and we all know what it is. Because of the smaller hands, does it make it look bigger? Do you feel that it looks bigger because of your hand size?
Well, you see, Greg, you're late to the party because this is not a new thing. I'm pretty sure I've announced before that is why God blessed me with these.
Yeah.
So
okay, good.
You know, it's pretty bad when God feels bad for you. You know what I mean? So he's like, let me help you out, buddy.
He's pity on you.
So
I tell you what, I mean, shaving was a total game changer, man. Well, I never did that 100%. When I was getting high. But that was 100%. A total game changer.
Looked way bigger. Way bigger.
Shameless
All right, so
plug
should
for
we just-
Manscaped. No free
Yeah.
ads.
start over? So, you guys just want to cut and start over?
No, not at all. This is perfect. Somebody clip that actually. All right. We're gonna get right into the recovery stuff. Kind of segue in exactly what we've been doing the last few weeks. And I'm gonna start with Greg because I don't know why. I always just like to start with Greg. You're like the safe choice, Greg, to start
Safe
with. But
space.
are you, Greg, would you say you are an alcoholic or an addict because you drink or use too much? Like is one an alcoholic because they drink too much, or am I a drug addict just because I get high all the time? What would you say to that? Kind of explain that for the listeners a little bit, what that means.
This is like the age-old question and kind of tough, right? Especially because we're dealing with a disease that is, it requires a lot of very honest self-inspection and inward looks upon yourself, and just really looking at the case of am I this and am I that, right? And we can embellish and we can spin our wheels and everything like that. Now, do you mean am I first and foremost, because I know where you're getting at, but like, do I feel like I'm more of an alcoholic, or am I more of a drug addict, or are we just talking about the disease of addiction?
The disease of addiction. If somebody says, "Oh my God, I drank every day for the last 2 weeks because I was on vacation, I must be an alcoholic." Like, is the amount that we ingest, does that make us alcoholic or addict?
I do not believe so. No. And, having received this information and studied this and worked in this field and all this, that, and the other for almost a decade, I don't believe so. No, because you have people that I hung out with a lot of those people in college, right? And in high school, right? Where and part of that is part of the reason why I feel that, things perpetuated a lot, like at least in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, is just because like I was just doing everything everybody else was, or so I thought in my own brain, like I'm drinking and I'm partying like everybody else. But not only did the consequences start piling up, but like I'm not the kind of person that just stopped, right? I'm not the kind of person that, or when I would stop, I would mentally obsess over it constantly, right? So I don't believe it's the external things that define whether or not you're an alcoholic or addict. Yeah, because you could put somebody next to me that's just, yeah, maybe they've had a really rough night, maybe they're going through a divorce, maybe whatever, and we both go out to the bar and close it down at 2 a.m. and we're 8 shots deep and a 12-pack deep, and they can go home and sleep it off and wake up the next morning and be like, oh shit, what the hell did I do? And me, like, that's just me just getting started, Right. Maybe I didn't even make it to bed because I went to go get some cocaine to keep the party going that night,
You went to go get some Canadian Cialis to crush up and snort.
Right.
Sober up to drink some more.
Whatever we got to do to keep the night going, right? So no, I don't think that the frequency, I don't think that just the consequences alone make that. There's plenty of people out there that have been in trouble 1 or 2 times for DUI, just making piss poor decisions, but inebriated decisions, and they come out of it. That's not what it's about. It's can I really stop when I want to stop? Can I make the choice to, hey, I'm going to stop and absolutely stop on my own?
Yeah, I think it's right out of our literature, right? What makes me alcoholic, what makes me an addict is that when I have the desperate, overpowering desire to stop, hand on the Bible, pass the polygraph, I'm never going to do it again. All the consequences come flooding to me. I'm aware of all the consequences. I have the desperate desire, the overpowering desire to stop, and I find I can't. That's not only is that what makes me alcoholic, one of the things, but I think that's where we get into the malady, which we'll talk about a little more. Dan, what do you think? The amount you take, what does that have to do with your alcoholism?
Not at all, and not on my own fruition did I find out this information or know this information. Working with a mentor and working with people in the recovery groups that we go to and whatnot, I was the big thing that hit me was understanding that I was the problem. It didn't matter the amount or the substance or whatever was being used. And like a really profound line to me was, I do everything alcoholically. You know what I mean? And that kind of like put it into perspective to me, that my body reacts different, and everything that I do is out of self. And seeing all these things that it didn't matter, through we talked about last week, all the different things we did to stop or to manage and to do all this stuff. And then coming into the recovery groups and reading our literature and seeing that my body is just an allergy to react differently to things, and I really just don't, it doesn't matter if I had one drink or 10 drinks or anything like that along the way. It's just I react differently. We talk about the normies, normal drinkers, people that don't wake up with the same obsession that I have the next day. And all these things were just brought to my attention, and I would have never figured this out on my own because I always thought that it was the amount.
Right.
If I cut this off, if I cut that off, and coming to the recovery groups and reading, like you said, in our literature, it physically states, and these things were brought to my attention that I do everything alcoholically, and coming to that understanding that, it wouldn't matter. And I have to do things a certain way in order to recover from that.
Yeah. Corey, we know that you're not like really an alcoholic or an addict. You're just, posing as one. But what do you think?
Shawn, shut up. First off,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, let me take a second to bitch about something. I know that's new and I don't do that often, but I've heard people over the years like kind of boast about that a little bit, I guess, and like, or maybe not, maybe it was genuine, but my thing was always like, well, if you know you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, then you have tried to stop. You know what I mean? Like, that's a prerequisite, I think. Like, you have to find your inability to stop on your own power. If you're here and you've gotten sober in this way of life, you must have found a way, or you must have not been able to stop on your own power. That's my argument to that. I think it's great that people accept this way of life and like accept God and never pick up again. That's a great thing. But it's like, it's just a weird thing to talk about, like never having a relapse. Well, how? Well, I guess you could argue that you weren't sober in the first place, like actually sober.
Like I look at it, when I say that, I mean, I definitely don't like to boast about it because I know now that none of it was me on my own. But like I never, when I went to the groups and stuff like that before, like before I got sober up here, like I never hung around long enough I didn't want their chips or their tags or their pats on the back. Right. And I didn't, I never really, I was trying to stop, but I was not interested in any kind of like spiritual or God-based solution when I was here. So then when I came down to Florida and I started to go into recovery groups down there, like, yeah, I picked up that first chip, day one chip, and then that was it, that, and thank God that has been it, for how long it has. But
to be clear, I forgot that I think two of you guys.
I was just gonna say, you're throwing shade on my whole life right now,
or all of you. Did all of you? But here's the thing. But I'm the same way in the way I can say that when I accepted this way of life for the first time, like truly, I haven't drank or used again.
Right.
I think I think there is a big difference between people that come into the rooms of recovery and are like, all right, this time I mean business and I'm going to get sober, and they pick up a chip and they do this and they go through a lot of the motions and then they go back out and they come back. I do think that I understand what you're saying with that, but I never tried to stop completely, but I tried to moderate, and I tried to not do certain drugs. Like I was like, all right, I'm just going to drink, or I'm just going to smoke weed, or I'm just going to drink and smoke weed, or I'm just going to do Xanax. Like I tried a lot of different variations each one of them turned out in just absolute shambles, wreck. And even just the weed and the alcohol experiment, or the combination of both, that also ended up in shambles. But once I got serious about recovery and said, consciously or unconsciously, like, I'm going to give this a real go. Like, I'm really serious about this. Technically, I am only a one white chip wonder, whatever you want to call it. But I definitely don't boast about it. And that being said, in all seriousness, like, Corey, someone like you or people that we know that have given it a real go multiple times, whether they were fully sincere or not, like, I have a lot of respect for those people, because man, it can be, I've seen what it does to people to come in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and like how it can just, it's got to be tough coming back again. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
it.
I mean, how many of those
Yeah.
people do we know that aren't here today?
Yeah, we talked about it last week, man. That's like, I literally say that to people because I don't even think about it. The fact of, like, I never tried a recovery group before I got down to Florida ever. You know what I mean? And like, to me, it like behooves me a little bit to where, like, that found this great way of life, and it's like, people that are going in and out, and I always say to them all the time, man, is like, I don't know if I can do it. I respect that, like, immensely, man. Because I don't know if I could do it.
And I tried some meetings, like like, my dad made me go to, but it was never sincere. Like, I never went to those meetings with any kind of real desire to stop. It was only to appease my dad or my mom, or for the courts at one point. That was it. Like, I was looking for the guy in the back that was selling the dope when I was there,
Well, that's what I'm saying. And like, so, and like I said, like, to be honest, this stretch of sobriety has been my only true, honest, rigorous attempt at this way of life.
Right.
I did encounter recovery groups and people that were willing to help me before, but I, like you just said, Shawn, I never had the real desire. I had a desire for, like, some of the consequences to stop, but I was not at a place where I couldn't picture life with or without drugs and alcohol. Just wasn't at that fork in the road. But my point in all that was just that, like, I think that's what makes us an alcoholic or a drug addict, is the actual true inability.
Right. We've tried various ways to stop or moderate and found we couldn't.
Yeah. And we talk about different types of, like, hard drinkers and whatnot, and how they can look a lot like us. But at some point, they're able to stop or moderate based on their family's going to leave them, or the doctor said you're going to die, or this or that, whatever. People like us, our minds, if not the phenomenon of craving that keeps us going and drinking and drugging, our minds will tell us, well, I mean, I do it with my eating. My doctor was like, hey, your cholesterol sucks. Like, get it together. And I'm like, okay, well, one more day of shitty eating isn't going to hurt. That's kind of what my mind will do with drugs and alcohol. It's like, well, like, yeah.
Well, that's a good segue. So, like, Corey, can you explain what happens when we physically ingest drugs or alcohol? Like, explain that physical component a lot, because we talked about the mental here a little bit. Let's talk about the physical. What happens when people like us physically ingest drugs or alcohol?
Very simple, Shawn. I break out in handcuffs.
Love it. I tell
Dan breaks out. Dan breaks out in hives.
Hives, yeah. Mom Donnied.
Oh, dude, that joke was so bad that Shawn left us on screen. It's crazy.
I'm good. Go ahead.
What happens when we ingest drugs or alcohol? I mean, the short answer is that people like us don't stop. That for me, it was like I would have like a relapse, like I said, so to speak, depending on what your definition is of that. But and it wasn't even that that I literally wouldn't stop from that day on, but the interval would get shorter and shorter. The already short interval would get very short. So, like, the remorse and the horror of the relapse would keep me not using for about 2 days, 3 days, let's say. And then I would use again. And then it would be like a day. I'm like, I really got to get my shit together. I can't be messing around like this. Probation's going to pinch me again. And then, like, very, very shortly after, it's daily use again. And then the tolerance goes up. Cost of the habit goes up, and I'm just spiraling. But yeah, I mean, the short answer is that I will I will continue to use no matter what. I will not be able to make it to high school and like graduate. I will not be able to make it to the job that I mentioned last week that'll pay me cash at the end of the day. I won't even be able to make it to that. You know what I mean? Like I will physically not be able to because the drug will, my body will crave it. I wouldn't need
it. I would have kept showing up to that job.
I wanted to. I really wanted to.
Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, well, absolutely. If you look at some of the scientific studies on this, and I'm not going to go into great detail here, but we as alcoholics, or some people, I should say, and some people at high risk for alcoholism, even genetically, have variations in the way that our enzymes break down alcohol in our body. So, like ADH and ALDH, which are different enzymes in our body, like chronic alcohol use, it says can lead to increased activity of these enzymes, enhancing alcohol breakdown efficiency, which is a high marker for alcoholism. So there's that first and foremost. But to break it down for a layman like myself, yeah, I'm physically different, and like that phenomenon of craving is huge when it comes to it, because the normal or just regular hard drinkers or binge drinkers, or and users don't experience that kind of stuff. I'll give you a perfect example. On Saturday, I came home from the grocery store. I was picking up some stuff, made some homemade seafood pasta this weekend, which was phenomenal, but it was very expensive. But in any event, I came home and my fiance is enjoying a glass of wine. And I said, "Oh yeah, breaking open the old Moscato, huh?" And she's sitting there and she has a glass, and then she pours herself another glass before we eat dinner, and she only drinks half of it. It was sitting in the fridge this morning when I woke up, like a half a glass of wine. And it's like, to me, that is such a foreign concept. I've never, ever thought of that. And it's because when that phenomenon of craving takes over, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's wine, beer, any drug under the sun, you name it. Like if it's going to get that feeling within me. And the way that the phenomenon of craving works for me is just that I take the first one in, and then I go and I feel good. I feel temporary relief. I feel like I can exhale, and that a weight's been lifted off my shoulders, and that, okay, cool, we're having a good time. And then that quickly goes away, and I need another one. And I feel like that one is going to get me right to the point where I need to be, right where everything is going great. And nope, didn't quite get me there, and I need the next one and the next one, and so forth and so on. And I know you guys have all experienced the same thing, but it is that never-ending cycle. And yeah, when I do find a way to break that phenomenon of craving, usually because there's consequences in my life, and I'm oh man, I got to slow down, I got to chill out, I got to stop hurting people I love around me and stealing their shit because I need more. And I figure out a way to temporarily stop. And we talked about all those ways last week of how we medicate ourselves to try and stop. And then maybe it's a day, maybe it's a week, if I'm lucky, where I get, and then, I'm walking down the street, and for no reason other than anything, this is where triggers come into play, right? Where triggers are actually real is, I have no defense against this stuff. And then the first thing I see that reminds me of dope or drinking or whatever, it's boom. And I can't, in those moments, pull my mental well-being into like, hey, remember how badly you hurt so-and-so? Remember how you got arrested last week? Remember how you just lost that job, or whatever the case? I can't, that's not in my brain at all in that moment. It's let's go. That's the only way my brain works.
Yeah. Dan, what about you?
Well, first I want to say, Corey said I'm allergic and I break out in handcuffs. For anybody newly sober and worried about the parties and the things and the awkwardness of not drinking and feeling like a less than, it's the best thing you could ever use to make it not awkward and to feel comfortable sober at a party. Is I'm allergic and I break out in handcuffs and everyone laughs and you move on. I wanted to get that out of the way because dude, I've told a lot of people that, man, and it makes them laugh and it gives them comfortability in their sobriety, especially when you're very, very early on sobriety. Because
It works at a party, but please, for the love of God, don't say it in your recovery groups. It's not.
oh yeah,
funny.
no, yeah,
I tried.
I would not, definitely
But
not.
at a party, yeah.
I tried one time. I'll rob you and then I'll help you look for it, and that didn't go over so well. So
I just tell them
no.
I'll smoke crack.
You're too imposing, Greg. Corey could get away with that.
What, smoking crack?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a gentleman.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, same thing that you guys were saying. I mean, that's like, I have a malady and my body reacts differently. I have an allergy to alcohol or whatever it is. I have an allergy and my body reacts differently. And it's the same thing, the phenomenon of craving, and I wrote down, like, I was just looking and doing some research and just like the definition of phenomenon of craving, not through our literature and stuff like that, but a powerful, urgent, and often compulsive desire for a specific substance or activity. It can be triggered by internal or external cues and is a key symptom of addiction. As a blind obligation to continue a behavior despite negative outcomes. Neurobiologically, it involves a complex interaction between the brain's reward pathways, as in dopamine. And that, for me, anyways, like, information is power, and like learning these things and having substance behind it to learn that my body reacts differently, and also getting it backed up with actual factual information, helps me understand it more. So that I understand that as an alcoholic, my body reacts differently. I am allergic to alcohol, and if I exactly what Greg said, if I have that one drink, then this is what happens, is the phenomenon of craving. So it's pretty much the same thing that Greg was saying, but it's just learning that information to me was like super huge, having the backing to not somebody just telling me something. And it just made me understand that, one drink, 10 drinks, whatever it is, this is what happens to me. And this is what gives me the groundwork to understand, what is happening with me.
I think Greg kind of touched on it too, but like the best way it was described to me was when I have one drink or one drug, whatever, I break out in the uncontrollable desire to have another one, right? And I have another one, and I break out in the uncontrollable desire to have the next one and the next one. And I, medically, and Greg touched on this, right? Our bodies metabolize alcohol differently. I think we learned growing up that, the body will metabolize. I mean, it varies based off your weight and your height and, man or woman, but like roughly one drink, which is, a 12-ounce beer, an 8-ounce glass of wine, a 2-ounce shot of liquor every hour. Like our bodies metabolize that stuff differently. We don't metabolize them properly, but it breaks us out in this overpowering desire to have another one. And I always think, see, here's where like the insanity of alcoholism and the mind, right? The warped mind comes into play. It's like, I always think that, okay, I've had a couple drinks. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm getting loose. I always think that the next drink is going to get me to that place, that feel good, perfect place, that everything's going to be wonderful. And, we joke about it, right? I'm become an expert on many subjects. I become a great dancer, a better conversationalist. I'm better looking. Like, I think the next drink is going to get me to that feel good place. And what happens is I have that next drink, and man, I get so close to that feel good place. I get so close, and I think to myself, one more will definitely do it now. And then another one, and then another one, and then another one. And then we're off to the races, and we all know what happens there. And you can fill in the blank with, now I'm calling the dope man. Now I'm out, robbing people blind, dancing on the table with my shirt off like Corey likes to do. I mean, whatever the case may be, but it's that I break out in the uncontrollable desire to have another one. And I remember hearing somebody explain it to me personally when I was early. And they said, did you play sports growing up? I said, yeah, absolutely. And I can remember like soccer or basketball or whatever it was, being so thirsty and so drained, and I'd get to the water cooler and I would just start chugging cold water. And like, I could never quench that thirst. Right. And I learned obviously later that cold water shocks the lungs and it doesn't hydrate me the way I think it does, but it tastes so good in that moment. And I'm just chugging cold water, and I cannot quench that thirst. I'm just more and more. And usually what happens is I get a cramp or whatever, whatever the case may be, and I stop that way. But that was a really good analogy for me, because it's like I can't quench that thirst. I can't scratch that itch. I can't satisfy that feeling, except maybe for the first few times I did the substance. I can never quite get back to it. And that's what causes me a lot of that pain and suffering. So, what do we like? So we talked a little bit about the obsession and the mental obsession, the physical allergy. What does it mean for us to not have a defense against the first drink? Like, how many times have we been told, why can't you just stop? Why can't you take it or leave it? Why can't you just don't take the first drink? Corey, what do you think? Not having a defense, what does that mean to you?
So that's that whole idea is why the crux of the alcoholic issue centers in our mind. Because we can be stopped in our drinking or using, going to jail, ending up in the hospital, court ordered to rehab, whatever, you know what I mean? And after, I don't know the time, the length of time or whatever. I've never tried to become an expert on the phenomenon of craving, but other than just knowing I have it, that's good enough for me if I take in a drug. But I don't know the length of time, but at some point, a week, 2 weeks, we stop craving the drug or the alcohol. Our body stops craving it. Anything after that, if we're dealing with what we think might be cravings, that's the obsession of the mind.
Yep, good point.
And it's a really good thing for newcomers to learn that. You know what I mean? To realize that they're not actually craving. I remember craving. I remember being 2 weeks into detox, not 2 weeks, 2 days into detox, and the cravings were so bad that, dude, I could taste cocaine. Did anybody ever? Did you guys taste things in your first couple of days?
Mine was the drip. I could taste the drip from when I used to snort Roxy's. Like, I could taste that drip in the back of my throat at times for months after I got sober.
It was, for me, it was the first time that I had ever actually noticed that. Like, I was sitting in detox, and I remember, because they would always ask you, like, what on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your cravings level? And I'm like, I'm tasting cocaine. I could taste cocaine right now. Like, it's weird as shit. I can literally taste it. And I'm not even high. This sucks. So, but anyway, my point is that subsided after a week. So I don't know. I'd say 2 weeks. The physical craving's gone. Anything after that is a mental obsession. The mental obsession to me, it didn't always tell me, like, hey, you got to get high today. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a voice from the devil on my shoulder that says go get high. It tells me why I should be able to do certain things that probably aren't a great idea, why I should put myself in situations that aren't great. I mean, dude, my last relapse, people like to laugh about it, but like, I tried to get the band back together. You guys have heard that story, right?
Yes.
Tried to get the band back together. I had like a few months, like, sober, like abstinent from everything. And like my drummer and my bass player were actively using. But my mind told me that I was strong enough, that I could control it. I could be around people that, like, and this is where the triggers argument comes up, but whatever. Anyway, my mind was telling me, like, you could totally go practice with them as long as they're not smoking crack with, like, in the room with you, you're good. Whatever. And what was really happening, that I can see it for what it is today, is that it was just the mental obsession telling me get closer to that. You know, get closer to that. Nobody in their right mind would go start a band or restart a band with anybody currently smoking crack. Okay, but I wasn't in my right mind. I didn't have a defense.
I was going to make that point. That's what's wrong with us is we're not in our right minds.
I didn't have a defense against the first drink because
Right.
my mind told me that was an acceptable thing to do. Even if I wasn't a drug addict, or if I wasn't a drug addict, I would have just said like, no, dude, you guys are off the rails, man. Like, I'd rather go play with people that are serious about this. That wasn't me. In my mind, it was acceptable, and I ended up using again, and like I said, that's where the triggers thing comes up, because like a therapist would say, well, they triggered you. Well, motherfucker, my mind told me to go there in the first place. It's not like I showed up and then saw a crack pipe and automatically, like, just then thought, oh, I should get high. My mind was already put, like, I knew somewhere in me, I knew that was not the thing to do, but mentally I wasn't there.
The relapse happens way before the physical ingestion of the drink or drug. So then, Dan, where does our, like, and you can elaborate on what Corey said, but where does our defense come from? If we can't do it, we've just sat here and said how powerless we were over it. We talked about it last week, the week before that. I can't stop on my own power. I've tried every imaginable remedy and situation. If I'm new in sobriety and I can't, how do I stop? Where does this defense come from?
Yeah, and that's what coming to the recovery rooms, rehab, you dry out and clean up your mind and all that stuff, because it says an alcoholic cannot be approached, before you have a clear mind, and a somewhat sound body, a sounder body, rather than about 120 pounds with no eyebrows. And going into the recovery rooms and being, not taught, but having conversations with other people that are like me, and that gave me that comfortability. And like the biggest thing that, I wrote down, man, is like, when my mentor told me, and we were reading, and it said, faith without works is dead. You know what I mean? So like that encompassed everything. And that became my defense in a power greater than myself. But I need to do something about it also, and having those things that I can make a defense. And to me, it was always, I can solve this, I can do this, and I can do that. And really what hit home for me is seeing people like you, Shawn, and seeing people that were around and they had smiles on their face. And like, that was because like, I, not trying recovery before, I didn't know that I had no defense against this. So I thought I could always figure it out. And then reading the literature with my mentor and reading these things and seeing that, like my body reacts differently, but there is a solution to do this, and the solution is for you have to believe in something other than yourself. All I ever did was think about myself and do everything selfishly, selfish, self-seeking, self-centered in every way, in every facet. And that was really just, it really hit home, because like I told you guys before, I always had a belief in God, but I never had faith. Belief and faith, you know what I mean? And actually putting that into tangible use is such a vast difference. But I needed something, just how the program of recovery works. I needed another person that has been in the same spot that I am in currently to show me what the solution is. And that was, just really profound. Like I said, I love information and like learning stuff and reasons why, and that there's possibly an answer was, just hope, man. Hope was eternal with that.
Yeah. Greg, where does our defense come from? Where does your defense come from?
Well, in order for me to have to look for this defense, I have to know that I'm without it, and that I'm past the point of human aid. And for me, years and years of different stuff. I had, I can remember, even before I picked up my first drink ever, I had seen a therapist for some stuff that happened when I was a kid. And, I've had a lot of people try and help me along the way, doctors, lawyers, therapists, the jailers, you name it. And none of that ever stuck, right? Maybe it did momentarily. I had a guy tell me when I was in my early 20s, I had my third DUI, and I wasn't even 25 yet. And, so I had to go see a therapist for that and go weekly counseling and stuff like that. And that dude told me straight up after weeks of me bullshitting him, dude, you're an alcoholic. And I'm like, no, man, like I'm I'm not that, I'm just having fun, and I made some stupid decisions. But yeah, I have to realize that on my own human power, I keep getting back to square one. And sometimes square one is way worse than the square one before it,
Right.
And I keep spinning wheels. So yeah, my defense has to come from a higher power. That was a tough pill to swallow for me. At first, I was kind of averse to the whole thing, to the whole spirituality. It's tough. It wasn't that I hated God by any means, or I didn't want to believe in any of that. It was more so like, I can't see any of this stuff. I got to take it all on faith. And faith was a tough pill to swallow for me at first, but I could look at other people, and I could see in these other people. And after hearing them talk and hearing some of their stories and hearing their backgrounds and where they came from, I could see that it was working in their lives. And so for me, that was that little mustard seed that, okay, I can continue this. And thankfully that cultivated a relationship for me with God, and something that I've continued to build on. But that's where my defense had to come from. And I've seen a lot of people. I sat in rehab with some people that just needed rehab and clean their act up. And like Corey said, like, those first couple weeks go by and your legs stop kicking in the middle of the night, and you can sleep and you can level yourself out. And some of those people they need to go through rehab. They need to get back on their feet. They need to get a job, go home to their wives, kids, whatever. And they're cool. Yep. And like,
with sufficient reason.
Right. And God bless you people. Like, I am over the moon for you, because it means that you don't have to do some of this really hard soul searching work. And not to minimize, going to rehab sucks. Regardless of what you're hooked on, man. The initial jump sucks. But this isn't for everybody. This is for those people that are absolutely powerless. And that's why, our literature spends about the first third of our literature is taken up on this question. Are you truly powerless? Are you beyond human aid? Do you meet these criteria? Because if not, hey, go talk to a therapist, go get your life on track, and have a nice day. But if this is you over here in this little group, you're in the right place, and this is what you need to keep on moving through this and get better. And this is the solution for you,
Yeah.
It literally says, in order to heal, I must have a reliance on a power greater than myself. And I always find it comical. I don't know if you guys have the same experience, but when you come into the rooms of recovery, and I end up getting a mentor driving a Saturn station wagon, and this book is going to save my life. I'm like, get the out of here, man. This is wild.
Right.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I didn't have a problem with God per se. I just wasn't convinced that God was the answer to my drug problem. Right. Like, that was the big thing for me. And I don't even know that that took me actually kind of, oddly enough, like a while to realize that, like, I had to become convinced and sold on the ideas, contained in our literature, that I had to buy into this program, this recovery program wholeheartedly, that this is the answer, and I need to start to work towards this. I didn't have a problem with it. I wasn't, I didn't not believe in God. I've always believed in him. I didn't have a resentment against him. We kind of said it a few weeks ago, like, I just simply wasn't doing business with God. And that was true. But I had to get to a point where, okay, I know that I'm powerless over drugs and alcohol. I know. Thank you, Corey. I know that I can't stop on my own power. I know that if I continue down this road, it means jails, institutions, and death, whatever the case may be. The hurdle for me was believing that God and the spiritual life is the answer, right? So Corey, I kick that to you. And what were some things that you grappled with, or barriers of this idea of accepting a spiritual solution for your drug and alcohol problem?
Yeah, I mean, we hit on this a little bit last week. I just think, I was the same way. Like, the idea that God was going to be the answer to my drug problem was, like, so far fetched, and like I could like it was no secret that like many of the recovery groups and stuff were like based on that idea. And I could admit that there was a God. You know, that the existence of God. I thought that something created all of this and whatever, but like, yeah, as far as bringing my drug problem to that thing, you know, we don't do business. Me and that God don't do business because God wants me to go to church and to be a good person. My idea of being a good person is real fucked up. Like it's wild. Like somewhere in our literature it says that something along the lines of like we can't even live up to a mere code of morals, essentially. And that was totally me. Like my code of morals was very skewed. It was like not drinking and drugging, and that's it. Everything else is still on the table. Like, and the lying, and like if I need to lie, I'll, you know what I mean? Like I didn't see a problem with any of that. So, the idea of like God or a power greater than myself or whatever, it lays a different standard. It sets the bar somewhere that I didn't think I'd be able to meet anyway. And surprisingly, like it's really not that hard. There's more work past what we're talking about today that kind of brings us to it, right? But yeah, I mean that was my ultimate. The ultimate barrier, Shawn, was actually accepting that I was the type of alcoholic or drug addict that needed a power greater than myself, and not just. We've talked about them tonight. Not just somebody that could just go to rehab, dry out, and go fix their life. Because I met plenty of those too. That some of them live in big ass houses and do all these cool things with their life, and they're living great lives. And they were in rehab with me. You know what I mean? They don't do what I do to have a successful life. I have to do what I do to have any life at all. And then I can build upon it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just that was the ultimate thing was I need to accept the fact that I'm like the people that I'm around today that need God to stay sober first and foremost, and then everything else, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I felt too like coming into the recovery groups, the same group where I met the three of you guys, but I felt for the first time in at least in this kind of deal where I wasn't being sold something. I didn't feel like I was on a car lot trying and some sneaky salesman trying to sell me a 97 Geo Metro. You know what I'm saying? Like
Geo
it was a
Metro.
Tercel.
3-cylinder.
But I felt for the first time because it very much was like, hey, this is what we do. We found a solution to alcoholism and drug addiction. This is what we do. If you want to be a part of this, it's free. Come get it. We'll love on you a little bit. We'll show you the way. And then the rest is on you. But if it's not for you and you just want to come in here and sit in here and drink our coffee, you can. That's fine too. But see yourself out. Like it and that to me was the even bigger thing. It didn't feel like some exclusive club, and it didn't feel like I was gonna like I was walking into a place where it was like, yep, you got to give up your money and then these are the things you must do. You know, it felt very free and very, I can take this or leave it.
Not to derail here, but that's why it's so important for the four of us and everybody that has sobriety that isn't a newcomer to stay consistent in that stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To stay consistently altruistic about this, to not shoot our wounded when they come through again for the fifth time or whatever. Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't be honest with them. We should. But, like, we don't need to berate them in a unloving way and stuff like that. Yeah. Like, it's just so important for us to do that because at the end of the day, we are trying to sell them this idea of like, and it's not for, we don't gain shit really. We get to stay sober another day by working at this stuff, but like, we're not gonna get paid, nothing. You know what I mean? We might gain a friend.
You're not getting paid, Corey?
I swear to God.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Corey, it's just like we talked about earlier, though. I mean, like we were saying, like I respect that more, man. you're going to keep coming back. I wouldn't be able to do it. Even the text man at the rehab, I mean, and the IOP and all that stuff. I don't know if you remember that. It said, Dan, we know what type you are. We won't see you again.
Yeah. I think there is a line where it's like I said, like we should be honest with people. Like I've definitely heard other people. I'm not usually so blunt, but I've definitely heard other people tell people that have come in for the 5th time, like, hey, do us a favor this time around and shut the hell up, and maybe you'll actually stick around this time. Like actually listen to what's, maybe you don't know everything. Like there's honesty to be had, but it's just we really do got to stay consistent in what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Hey, you just give them here's the deal. I'll be at my house Wednesday at 7 o'clock. How about you be there? Hey, like that's, I mean, it's very simple, and they show up cool. If they don't, I mean, that's, you do what you can, but yeah, you just definitely should never berate someone that comes back. That's wild to me.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I love about our recovery groups is it it meets each individual where they're at. It will meet you where you're at. If you just want to be the alcoholic or addict that, like Greg said, like just comes in, or Corey said it, just comes in the rooms and drinks our shitty coffee and eats our stale cookies and sits in the back, and you come in 5 minutes late and you leave 5 minutes early. You never want to raise your hand. You never want to get involved. Cool. You can do that. No one's going to tell you you can't. No, somebody might try to talk to you. Hell, they might try to hug you like they did Corey, but somebody might try to talk to you, might try to like reach their hand out. Like you don't have to say anything to them. You're not going to get kicked out if you don't want to talk. If you want to be the type of person that comes in and gets involved to the extent that you're helping clean up, you're helping put things out, you're doing service, you're sharing in our recovery groups, you're kind of getting involved, you're letting people know you a little bit, but it's all surface level, and you never really like get a mentor and want to go through the recovery literature. You just kind of want to be a meeting maker, as has been coined the term. You can do that too. We'll gladly let you do our service work and clean up, all that stuff. But if you are the hopeless, beyond human aid variety alcoholic addict, like the 4 of us knuckleheads were, and you want to come in, and not only do you want to get involved and let people get to know you and do our service work and clean up and set up, but you actually want to get a mentor and go on a spiritual journey through the recovery literature to heal mind, body, and soul, then that's what we're really here for. And that's what we mean when we talk about like, hey, like Greg said, if you want what we have, come do what we do. And if you don't, that's cool too. Like no one's going to, like, that's the other thing. We don't force this down anyone's throat. I might help try to convince you that you are one of us, like by your own experience. I might ask probing questions for you to become convinced, to concede to your innermost self that you're one of us, but we're not forcing anybody. And it meets each individual where they're at.
I said to myself, or we're talking about like barriers and stuff like that and recovery. Like, for me, it was like when I got sober and I got out and I got into recovery groups, it's like, I tell other people this too. Why the fuck not? Life's going so good, like that. For me, like finding that, and it gave me purpose, going into the recovery meetings and getting those service things and doing all that stuff. It gave me purpose, and it's really just why the F not, man. You know what I mean? Like there was no barrier because I had nothing. I had a bag of clothes, and that was it, and it's just like that, the acceptance in the recovery rooms from meeting you guys and all that stuff, where I felt like I had a tribe, and that was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I met somebody once that said when new people like would reach out to him and ask them to like mentor them or whatever, a lot of us will ask that person in that situation, like, okay, well, what are you willing to do to stay sober or something like that, right? Something to that effect. This person said he makes it a point to lay it out for them right from the beginning. And I'm not sure that's always the method, but I found it interesting anyway. But he'll straight up say, like, listen, just so you know, if you're going to go through this process with me, we're going to write down all the people you hate, your dark secrets, every nook and cranny of your life. Like, we're going to explore that on paper. We're going to talk about it. I expect that you are going to make amends to the people that you owe one to. And I also expect that you're going to help people when that day comes too. If you aren't willing to at least explore those options, then you should probably find somebody else. And I like I said, not sure that's always the way. Like I've never really said that to people right off the bat, but at the same time, there's something to be said for like, there's no parlor tricks here. Like, I'm not going to lie to you and say that this is something else, and just until you're hooked or something. Like,
right.
There's a path to getting sober here, and we're going to be honest with you about it.
I just like to tell them, word for word, Liam Neeson's monologue from Taken. That's what I will find you.
I
will
love
kill you.
I freaking love it.
So.
And I will kill you. Good stuff, guys. This was a full-bodied episode. I appreciate everyone's insight and experience. That's all we really have at the end of the day, right? Is our own experience, strength, and hope. So,
and apparently a paycheck that I wasn't getting.
Apparently, yeah. We'll have to loop you in. I guess your direct deposit's not going through, Corey. Sorry about that.
I'll probably bounce my account again. It's fine.
Shout out to our listeners. Please like, follow, and share on all socials at Trudge Report Pod. Email us, trudgereportpod@yahoo.com. Corey, my mom said she's going to email you. She has something very specific she wants to say to you. Send in your mailbag request for topics, questions, and comments to any of these handles. Remember, we are all here if anyone wants to talk about recovery and our experiences, or if you are struggling with some form of addiction. Thank you again to Janine and Stella Mix Podcast Management. Good night, God bless, and may you trudge the road of happy destiny. We will see you next week. Nice touch, Corey. Nice touch.